Warning: the following program may contain material not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Final ducks unknown, our voice begins to rise, breaking through the noise with fire in its eyes. The spirit of adventure burning ever bright. Hold on tight, travelers, it's gonna be alright. Another week burning, halfway to the end. Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, let the tears descend. Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, night is here. Shatter the silence, conquer all your fear. Bonus Overdrive, the angels gonna scream. With Diego at the wheel, living out a dream.
It's time to find out with Diego. Let's go. Ooh, yeah.
On this episode of Bonus Overdrive Wednesday, we're diving into the shadows with our guest who knows that a good scare is best served with a sharp mystery. Our guest isn't here to drench you in gore. They're here to saturate your mind in tension and dread, keeping you glued to every page late into the night. A true master of the paranormal thriller that never forgets a solid plot. All this plus more. Please welcome our good friend and one half of the Killer Bees, Bryan the Writer. Bryan, my friend, welcome to Bonus Overdrive Wednesday.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a great pleasure.
Oh, it's always fun having the Killer Bees around. If both at the same time or individually, you guys tell some crazy stories and you're fun to hang out with and you write some doggone good books.
Yeah, you know, what's really funny is the other half of the Killer Bees, Brian Grover, just came back from Ireland. I literally just came back from Crete. So one has the mystery of the Fae and the and the lore that goes along with the Irish world, and of course I was in Crete, which of course is it's the home of the Minotaur and all the wonderful Greek traditions and stories that go along with that. So we're out there doing our research.
Yeah, that seems is a working. I like to call it a working trip. So you deduct that from your taxes?
No, I wish I could. The problem is that while I was out there in Crete, we drank a lot of wine, and getting the IRS to accept wine as a business expense, really, it's a tough sell. But we do what we got to do.
You got that right. Now, I might be wrong. I'm 100%, 101% believe I'm wrong. Crete. Is that where the bull jumpers were centuries ago?
Yes.
Was that
you're 100% right. That is exactly in Kenosis is where they did the whole bull jumping thing, which to me just sounds like an absurd idea, because it's like either you got to be 100% dead on and you have to be really, really good at it, or you're dead. So, there's really zero room for error there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie here. I usually root for the bull.
Yeah. If anybody's dumb enough to jump over a bull, I got to give it to the bull.
It'll give you wings, they say.
Yeah.
20 feet in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll give you wings. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Look like rocket. The red actually looks like a plume as you fly through the air, but it's blood. So
just point towards like Babe Ruth. You're going that way.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's good. So when you go on these trips, you're also going to these locations like Bryan also is doing, because sometimes he'll have some stories about some of the places that he visits. Are you doing kind of the same thing on some of these?
Kind of. There are places that I really do like to go. So the island of Crete. The thing that always fascinated me about that is the Apostle Paul was actually imprisoned on a prison ship just off the island of Crete, and they had to take him ashore because apparently the weather was bad or whatever. But while he was there, he designated the Apostle Titus to be the first bishop of the island of Crete. you cannot, I mean, there's really nowhere on Crete that you can solidly say, yeah, this is associated with either person. But there's like the first church dedicated to Titus is there, and it's ruins. I mean, it's not, it's pretty, but what's really cool is the Greek authorities have preserved all these sites, and it's really cool because you have a Christian church, you have a kind of a Roman Colosseum, and then you have ruins that actually predate all of that sitting there on kind of the same piece of land. And the cool part about this, and the thing I say I find most rewarding, is there's a lot of imagination feeding that's going on there. You're seeing the ruins of these old places, and it brings up questions in your mind. The Palace of Kenosis has one section that it's like 4 stories down, and of course they don't let you go down there, protecting national artifacts and world historic sites and that kind of thing. But it lets your imagination run wild, and you feed your imagination. And as a writer, the most important thing you can do is have these experiences. Now, but I don't want to suggest you need to get on a plane, fly to Crete. You can go to places that are local. If you're a writer or a creative, you can go to these places that are local and check it out. Look for art museums near you and just go there and let yourself absorb what you're seeing. All of these different creative impulses are what's going to feed you, what's going to tell you how to make better art, because that is, in a creative sense, really what we are doing, right?
True. And you kind of beat me to the punch, because I was going to ask, when you visit these locations, a little part of that comes home with you and eventually makes it into some of your lines in the books. Well,
for me, I had some thoughts, and I'll this is not a completely formed idea, but I was sort of standing there looking at the Palace of Kenosis. There is a spot where there's a set of stairs, and it goes down and down and down and down. And it kind of made me think about an archaeologist who is doing their work, and they're clearing out areas, and who's to say they push through a wall and they release something that was never meant to be released into the world. What would that thing be? What would they think about? What would they do? Do they take over the archaeologist? Do they take over someone near them? It's actually very similar to a story that I wrote recently. It's actually a book I'm kind of working on. It's kind of an exclusive, by the way. It's a series of 4 short stories, actually novellas, really in length. And one of them is they're all things that cannot die. One of them is a mummy who is looking for the death stone that they were buried with, that was taken from their crypt. And he's talking about how when the death stone was taken away from him, he came back to life. He was reanimated, and he started killing everything in sight until he started getting his emotions under control and realized that, well, this isn't getting me anywhere. I need to start thinking through this logically and figure it out. Well, a few hundred years later, he's still searching for the stone. But it is experiences like that. It is seeing things like that. It's seeing mummies and ruins. And I love ruins, by the way, that feed that creative process. It's grist for the mill.
I'm kind of jealous of you at this point. I didn't get to do any traveling this year, but, I think I travel through the guests, because sometimes when they tell their stories, the way you say it, I kind of picture myself being there, seeing the ruins. And so I really appreciate that, because you tell it so well, and it's a free trip. It's a free trip for me, for my mind, though. But so with that in mind, because we're talking about writing, and not only do you write books, but you also host a show. You had me on not long ago, and I really appreciate it. I'll say that I've done hundreds of interviews, whether on my show or somebody else's show as a co-host. And the minute you put me on the other side of that table, mm-hmm. I'm all thumbs in the brain. I was like, oh my gosh, I go blank. And then you did so well helping me out. All Things Writing is on YouTube. And how long have you been doing that now?
Boy, I've been doing all things writing in one form or another for years. I don't, I want to say we've been doing that for 4 years or so. I'm gonna record somebody on Monday, an author, fellow author. I don't do a lot of nonfiction. The reason I don't do a lot of nonfiction is because I write fiction. So I want to talk with people who have that similar creative process. But there are a few people that I bring on that are paranormal related. In your instance, I read your book, loved it.
Thank you.
And I'm like, you know what? We need to get you on to talk about these paranormal experiences because I was describing the book to somebody today, by the way, while we were at Old Man Beer, as I like to call it. And we were talking about how the experiences that you're writing about it in such a way where you are leaving it up to the reader to figure out what they're reading. And you're not telling them what to think. You are telling them what happened and letting them decide. And I think, for people like me who do ghost hunting and that kind of thing, I think there's a lot of danger in telling people what to think or do. Now, as a podcaster, when you're hosting a show, I don't care if you're doing fiction or nonfiction, there is a danger in leading your guests down a certain path. But at the same time, you want to have questions that are kind of, these are the questions we're going to go over, but you have to leave them wide enough to give people leeway. I often use the example of I interviewed a guy by the name of Bill Webb who does science fiction writing. Bill's a phenomenal guy. We were talking for an hour and a half. I made 2 shows out of it because I let him go. That is the essence of a great interview, my humble opinion. You let the person who's talking run with it, because if you try to guide them, it never works out well. Never works out well. Not that I can tell anyway, but yeah. All things writing is it's all things writing. We talk about writing technique, and I haven't done one of those videos in a while. I really should. I had been doing for a while there a bunch of 5 minutes with Bryan, which is random thoughts. I need to get back into that. I've been since I've been involved in working with Jumpmaster Press, which is my current publisher. I've been busy as all get out, which is a good thing, good problem to have. But I haven't really had much time to do other things. But I'm going to get back around to it now that things are settling down a little bit. I think I rambled there a little bit. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Who knows? Who knows?
No.
Insanity is happening here. We don't know.
That's what I love about you, man. Always fun when we talk to you. You always make me laugh, whether you're on this show or when I see you at the events and we're in talking about the events. Well, let me finish off with all things writing, because you talked about you had the 5-minute videos.
Mhm.
Before that, because you were doing a lot of the solo episodes, and then you started bringing in guests.
Mhm.
You prefer the guest experience a little bit better, or doing the solo thing? I mean, I'm not big on the solo because I get tired of hearing my own voice.
I like both formats. I do prefer interviewing people because when I interview somebody, it actually makes it easier for me, because I'm not doing most of the work. I'm really just asking the questions at that point. And I have a very standard first and last question. The first question is always, tell me about yourself. The very last question is always, where can people find you? The things that happen in the middle, I do. The first half tends to be like about writing style. The second has to be about whatever ongoing project they have going on. So it's somewhat formulaic. Where I think the goodness happens is where I ask the question, and then I get out of their way and I let them roll with it. it's, and I think to a certain extent, when we interview, you do this too. I've noticed, we have almost a very presentation style of talking. It's very disarming. We don't ask things in a very pointed way. We leave them open ended naturally when we ask the questions. Yeah, and I think that is really what makes the difference when you're doing an interview, when you're interviewing a person anyway, like that. Now, when I'm actually doing like hey, this is 5 minutes with Bryan, we're going to talk about shows, or we're going to talk about. I did an interview about going to shows and how to actually be like a good vendor at a show, because I think there are some times that people don't. They'll go to shows and they'll just sit there and they'll like play on their phone and they won't do anything. That's a terrible way to be at a show.
It is terrible. Yes,
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, but I tell people to don't do that. But those are short advice pieces, really. Try to make us all better vendors, at least. So, yeah.
I mean, I can't say I've been guilty of doing the same thing, but my rule is somebody walks by, I'll stand up, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And they have a conversation, whether they buy anything or not, that's fine.
Yeah.
At least they learn about me, and I say, hey, I have a friend down here, great author. You like horror books? Go down there. And we all help each other out. We've done that before.
Yep.
And I'm still learning. I'm only into it's only like my second year into vending. Each time somebody says, next time you should really have this, or bring plastic tarps, or bring this and that. So little things make a big difference.
I refer to it as fishing.
Yes. Okay.
So when you're standing there when you're sitting behind your table, you say, people walk by, you say, good afternoon. They may respond, they may look at you, they may come over. But if you don't cast that line in, they're never going to come over and talk to you.
True. I usually entice them either with candy or free stickers, and it usually kind of works.
I try. I put my vampire teeth in.
I see that.
Free hugs. That never seems to work though.
I took a rain check last time. I'm going to cash it in. I think next time I see you at an event.
Actually, I do have my fangs. They're literally right here.
All right, nice little container. You got to wash them in between, because you never know nowadays with the plastics they have now, right?
So those aren't plastic.
Oh
no!
Tell me they're not real teeth.
They are. Well, they're as close as you're ever going to get. Those are fangs that was made by my good friend Horror Show Jack, and they are made of a dental material that they use to make teeth. So they're literally like when you clean them, you can actually brush them.
All right.
Yeah, to clean them.
That's a lot safer than the alternatives out there. But with chemicals and what have you. But now, in the spirit of vending,
yeah,
I was talking to our good friend, the other half of the Killer Bees, Bryan,
Big B,
and I had him on the show a couple of months ago. Actually, I had lunch with him in Winchester, and wouldn't you know it, he found somewhere to explore before we even had lunch.
That's him, yeah.
And of course, it was a graveyard. But that's of course, he knows. I think he has a heat map somewhere.
I love graveyards. Yeah. I love graveyards
because there's so many stories behind all these things.
There are.
And he was telling me, I don't think it was at lunch, but he was telling me during the interview that both of you are going to pack and go somewhere in West Virginia.
Yes,
an event called Lurch Fest. And I never heard of this event until he told me about it. I think we talked afterwards. He told me what it was about. It was a lot of fun, but tell me your experience at Lurch Fest.
Yeah. So Lurch Fest takes place in Philippi, West Virginia. It is an annual event. It is dedicated to the life and the art and the amazing guy that was the dude who played Lurch in the original Addams Family from the 60s. His son still actually is alive and well, and he comes to Lurch Fest, and spitting image of his dad too, which is fascinating. This town is a tiny little town in the middle of nowhere, And to say that they welcomed, all us vendors with open arms is understating how warm a welcome we got. It was fantastic. They don't focus on the spooky stuff. They really are focusing on celebrating the life of Lurch, essentially the guy who played Lurch. And I think that there's a lot of people. Both him and I had amazing sales day. Of course, it's not the most important part. The most important part for a vending event like that for me is, did I meet a lot of people? Did I have a lot of fun? Was the event worth it? Now, I will say, Philippi is not just worth visiting for Lurchfest. They also have a really cool museum there where they have mummies. The guy who, there was a doctor there in town who decided he wanted to recreate Egyptian mummification processes. Of course, because why wouldn't you? And he made mummies, and they're on display. You can go see them. The museum, which is in the town's train station, well worth stopping to see. It's just a cool little town. There's live music. There were craft brewers there, and I don't know, gazillion different little vendors there, not just the Killer Bees. However, the Killer Bees are just worth coming to see anyway, because we are a lot of fun. But yeah, Lurch Fest is, and I don't remember what date it's falling on this next year, but you can bet we'll be there.
Awesome. And which brings me to the next question. When the Killer Bees go out of town, they hit the road and pandemonium runs wild on the highways. If I were to ride with you guys, and I know the name of your show is All Things Writing, when two authors go on a road trip, do they talk about all things but writing? Or, because what happens on these trips?
It's sort of funny because Bryan and I are of a certain age. We're older gentlemen. We're not young fellers anymore. Bryan can find a haunted paranormal venue, like you pointed out, could find a haunted paranormal venue. I think just by sniffing the air. I think he just goes, "Oh yeah, there it is." We ended up going the last time we did something like that. We ended up going to all these different places in West Virginia, haunted paranormal things everywhere. And it was just, it was phenomenal. So we talk about those different things. We went to the Mothman Festival, and we investigated an insane asylum. Of course, we do these things. But we talk about a lot of random things as we go along. And of course, Bryan and I have been friends for years. We fall into kind of that quiet radio on time where we're just driving along and, just appreciating the fact that, two old friends cruising down the highway and just making a good day of it. We'll stop for some good lunch, maybe some milkshakes, and we have a good time.
Sounds like a good time. It's about the experience, about making memories.
It is.
And then
it is.
Along the way, you'll have some stories to bring back and share with your friends and family.
And some interesting paranormal evidence. Yeah. I actually did a whole YouTube video on All Things Writing that is just the evidence that we captured from the insane asylum.
You know what I'm thinking? I'd like to bring both of you on. Let's find out.
Oh,
we'll pick a date.
Yeah.
When our things slow down with the vending and writing and podcasts, I want to talk about you guys, your experience during this trip, where you went and what you captured. I think we're going to get a lot of stuff from you guys on a lot of stories too, because I've known you guys now for a couple of years now, and I mean, you guys are the real deal, and you can kind of you can tell because some of that goes into your writings. And I just read one of his short stories, and that first story got me. He's gonna kill me because I forgot the name of that first story. Was it Amy's leg, or it was about a leg?
That sounds right.
And, he'll call me here in a minute. How can you call it Amy's leg? It's not that. So,
dude, really? No.
Yeah.
I will say though, he wrote this poem, and it is about PTSD. And to me, that's probably my favorite work, because it is a very, very, it hits very hard. Hits very, very hard. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's one of those, and I never, before I met you guys and a couple of friends, I was never really a great reader.
Mhm.
But sometimes some of these short stories, they say so much, but they're not that long. And sometimes, like talk about that first story, it creeped me out because I was reading it right before bed. I'm like, boy, did I make a mistake.
Short stories are hard. Short stories are hard. This is why I pretty much focus. Of course, I say I pretty much focus on long form fiction, but now my latest book that I had out, The Abyss, is all short stories. But short form fiction is really difficult to do extremely well because it's so condensed. You don't have the space. You don't have the run up. You've got to get the reader totally in, totally engaged, and totally going immediately. And that's a hard skill. It really is.
It is. So, I mean, and I know talking about writing a full novel, you have time. You have the comfort of time, but with a shorter story, you really got to get in there and tell your story. It has to make sense. And at the end, you have to entertain the reader, which brings me to this next one, because I know we were talking offline and you're in the middle now of editing a new book.
Yes.
And I know we don't want to give too many spoilers. And I know also, not at all, but you're also now having an experience with a different publisher right now as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. I'm proud to say that I signed this last year with Jumpmaster Press, which is a great outfit. They've got quite an impressive stable of writers. Armin Shimmerman is one of our writers with the publisher. He's better known as the guy who played Quark on Deep Space Nine. But he's a phenomenal guy, hell of a good writer too. But this is the first time I'm working with a larger publisher like that. I would say it's more of a medium-sized publisher, but that has been an interesting experience. Definitely. I think when you are working with a publisher like that, one of your biggest things you end up doing is you're forced to up your game. When you are an indie writer, like I have been for so many years, I have editors and I pay editors and they hold me accountable. But I think when you are hitching your wagon to a publishing company like that, they have a vested interest in making sure you are doing the best job you can. Not because it's not just your reputation on the line anymore; it's also theirs as well. And I love that. It seems like this should be, well, why would you ever want to do that? Well, you want to do that because they have skin in the game, and it's going to make your writing that much stronger. And I think because of that, I prefer working with a publisher like that. In that way, it takes a lot of load off your shoulders because you're not having to hire an editor, hire a book cover artist. Of course, I do my own book covers for my indie books. Have done them for years, but it takes a lot of that pressure off you, which I really do like.
And now that you're with a new publishing company, talking about different kind of pressure, do they give you a deadline?
Not in so many words. There's a timeline where we want to get the book out, certainly. And there are steps in the process that you have to meet. I think a lot of times you're not necessarily beholden to they're not saying this must be back by, let's say, October 10th or whatever. They are telling you, look at this, go through the edits, think about it, and get back the changes to us in a clean copy when you're done. But they don't tell you a time frame. And this is what I like about Jumpmaster Press, is that they work with you to develop you. And a lot of publishers won't do that. I believe it or not, I'm not God's gift to grammar. I know that. I never have been. And that's actually, I suppose if I could go back in time and tell my younger self to do better, it would probably be paying attention to English class.
Yeah,
but
I feel you.
Yeah.
You figured that actually one of the classes I got the worst grades on.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. That is true. But the next book, and I don't do spoilers on all things writing, and I'm not going to do spoilers with Diego here, but I will just say that this is the book I'm probably the most excited about, have ever been excited about, because it was a concept that I had when I was looking at, when I was doing my own, or when I am doing my own podcast. I think about what it would be like to be in like a paranormal podcasting show. And the two main characters in this book are paranormal podcasters, brother and sister team. And for years, they've been trying to get into this house called Henrico House. And, they eventually do talk their way into Henrico House. And let's just say things go sideways real quick.
Yes, we wanted to.
Yes.
No, perfect.
Torture your little darlings, as they say. And that's exactly what I do.
Oh, well, then we're game, my friend. So earlier we talked about you were going to possibly do a cover reveal. When would that be?
I don't know. I do know that, that is a step in the process that has to take place. I honestly let the publisher tell me that kind of thing, because the issue that you face in working with the publisher is you are very much on their timeline. When you shift to a traditional publishing format, you are fitting into their schedule. So unlike, and I purposely won't disparage other authors. I don't do that. But there are people out there that will turn around and they'll slap a thing together, call it a book, and publish it in they'll get it out the door in no time flat. But a publisher can't afford to do that. They have to fit you in their in their rotation, and there's marketing that has to be done, and they know how to do that end of things right. That is something I'm not particularly good at, so I'm going to let them do that. I'm going to let them tell me when they are ready to go. I am hoping by after the first of the year we'll have something that we can reveal. I'm excited. I'm very excited about this book, honestly.
And I can tell, and almost the end of the year. It's not too far away.
Yep.
2026 is right around the corner.
It is.
And in closing out 2025, I know you have a few more events lined up for this year. Where are you going to be?
I do. So this weekend, I'm actually, I'm going to be down at, I should have the list in front of me, right? I'm going to be at the Fairfax County Fairgrounds, or Convention Center. And then in the rest of October, I actually have an event coming up at Elaine's. You can come watch me read. Elaine's is a great place down in Old Town Alexandria. That'll be a neat thing. And I'm doing a Barnes & Noble book signing. Actually, I think I've got like 2 Barnes & Noble book signings coming up. Barnes & Noble is a great supporter of indie writers, by the way. They've been very gracious in getting us into their stores and having us sit there and talk about our books and meet readers. That's the great part about a Barnes & Noble, is because you're going there to talk to readers, and they came there to buy books. So it's great to have that discussion. And you know what? I will invite everybody. Check out Bryan the Writer on Facebook. Like me there. You will see all of my announcements about where I'm going to be, when I'm going to be. Come out and meet me. I don't bite normally, unless I got my fangs in.
I was just going to say that. I've seen it too.
Yeah.
And also I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have to decide if I'm going to wear my fangs this weekend. I don't know. I might. We'll see.
Half fangs will travel, as they say.
Exactly.
And with all things writing is available on YouTube as well. And you told them, and you just mentioned who you're going to interview. So what's the plan with other guests coming up? You haven't lined up yet, or you just do them as time allows?
I do them as time allows. So I am fortunately in the place in my time doing interviews where I actually have publicists that reach out to me and say, "Hey, would you be interested in this guest?" And I don't interview all of them, because there are some that are, like I said, they're nonfiction writers, and I generally don't do nonfiction writers. There were a few exceptions I've made over the years. There was a gentleman who wrote a book on book marketing, and I'm like, okay, that tracks. So that was kind of nice, but
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because before we go, for not only new authors but established authors, some of them they self-publish, or they go through the trial and errors of signing with different publishers. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes it does not work out well. What is the best way for an up-and-coming author to get the attention of a publishing house?
I would say, if you focus first and foremost on the craft of writing. And I feel like that's a cop-out answer to a certain extent, because everybody's going to tell you that. But it is true. You have to be a solid writer, because remember that a publisher and an agent, they are getting literally bombarded with different authors sending them stuff and to look at. And if you're not standing out in one way, shape, or form, it's not going to work. So I would say that's kind of number one, is you really have to have a solid writing practice. But, aside from that, I always tell people to have a good idea why you're writing in the first place. And it seems fundamental. It seems like something, that you wouldn't really put much credence into. But if you are writing because you want to be the next J.K. Rowling, if you want to be the next Stephen King, you want to make millions, go find a different job, because writing isn't going to get you there. If you are writing because you're passionate about the stories inside of you, if you have an idea you want to share with the world, and you don't care if 5 people read it or 1,000 people read it, then keep that drive alive, because that is the thing that's going to sustain you when things aren't going as great. At my lowest point in my writing career so far, I was seriously on the fence about whether I wanted to keep writing, because I'm like, I go to these shows, I sit here at my table, and I'm lucky to get a couple of people to talk to. I'm lucky if I even get one person to buy, and those happen. Those days do happen. But somebody came up to me and said, I read, and I forget what book they told me they read. But they're like, I loved it. That one moment in time, that one statement in time, kept me from giving it all up. And it's tough. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But when you focus on the real reason that you're writing, why are you writing? And you know why you're writing, that will keep you going. I had a very good friend of mine, Patrick Hodges, who sadly passed away of cancer. He wrote the oh boy, I'm forgetting the name of the series that he wrote. Really, really good. He wrote a young adult series. He wrote kind of mystery series, not mystery, but fantasy series. He and I talked about that quite a bit. The first and foremost thing you need to do is decide what defines success for you. Because if you can't define what success means for you, the publisher's not going to be able to do that for you either. So it's really important to have that worked out beforehand. And yes, if you want to send things to publishers, have at it. But understand, for every submission you make, the chances are very, very slim, because it's a big pool you're going into. Not to say that you shouldn't keep trying. You should, absolutely. But just temper your expectations, because it's a long haul, but you can do it. And if you're writing for the right reasons, it doesn't actually matter. I write to get the stories out. I write to get the stories out of my brain. And I'm lucky. There are people who like what I write, and they like my books, and they pick them up and they read them. And that's the ultimate compliment for me, to be honest.
And we call that mission accomplished, my friend, on that part.
That's what I say.
Excellent, man. I really appreciate you being on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. I haven't seen you now in a few months, and I'll be running into you pretty soon. But I think I'm gonna join you guys on a road trip next year. And
heck yeah,
I think it's long overdue.
I would like to go to there's a plantation house that was the boyhood home of James Madison. It's called the Belgrove Plantation. I've done a few events down that way. One of the most haunted places in Virginia. I would love to go do a ghost hunt there. I actually stayed there one night. My wife and I did when we did an event in the area, and I'll tell you what, that house is haunted. There are some things going on there, but it's such a cool house, though. I did not have the chance to set up gear and see what kind of evidence I could get, but I want to. Oh, I want to. So I'm going to line that up, and we need to go, the three of us. It'll be great fun.
It will be. And I'll say this before we go: if you know it's haunted, you didn't have any equipment.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just think what happens when you bring something. Oh, I know you're reaching. What's that? Oh, see, I knew that.
Yeah, this is my my actual my meter. So yeah, my EMF, it measures the electromagnetic fields. It's the cheap standard one that everybody gets, but I have a really high end recording device that I use, and we have some other techniques we use that get really good results. Like I said, if you go back and look at the YouTube video that I did, there's a lot of really cool evidence that came out of that thing. At one point we had, so I had this meter in my hand, and I was telling one of the entities, I said, hey, if you're here with me, can you make this light up? And it said, reach out your arm. So I went, and all of a sudden it lit up. It was, and we got it all on camera. We got it all. It was crazy. It was crazy, but it was so much fun. The quest for truth, the quest for knowledge, and of course, feeding, like we said at the very beginning of the show, feeding that grist mill feeding the mind, feeding experiences, having those experiences are really what things like that are all about.
Best part of life, my friend. And
Agreed.
be careful out there. Good luck on the next events, and I'll see you
Thank you, man.
pretty soon. You have a good night.
All right.
Thank you, my friend.
All content on this broadcast is a property of Diego the Podcaster and is served directly from our servers with no modification, redirects, or rehosting. All celebrity impersonators are paid performers. The impersonated celebrities do not endorse or promote any views or opinions expressed by our guests, Diego the Podcaster, or Bonus Overdrive Wednesday. The information shared on Bonus Overdrive Wednesday is provided on an as-is basis, with no guarantees of completeness, accuracy, usefulness, or timeliness.